Good evening, everybody. This is Fr Robert here. I wanted to send you a little message as you will now be receiving our emailer from the PPC trying to explain how we as a parish can implement the policies of the Archdiocese. I know for many it came as a shock that we are now enforcing this social separation also in our parishes, that there'll be no Mass in the parish, that there'll be no penitential services, there are no social events, no coming together to visit the church. And yet it is in this social separation that we need to ensure we don't also have a spiritual separation. Yes, we cannot come together and receive the body of Christ. We cannot come together and celebrate Mass, but we don't cease to be the people of God. We don't cease to be the body of Christ. We now just have to find new and inventive ways of living out who we are as Christian, who we are as the body of Christ. And that's going to become important. We think back to the early church, we think back to the persecuted Christians of our modern world and how they have had to respond to the situations we are now finding ourselves in each and every day. So we remember them, we ask for their guidance, we ask for their prayers. And on this, the Feast of St. Joseph, we ask especially for his intercession, as he is the patron not only of the family but also of the universal church, that he be our guide, he be that spiritual father that helps us to understand our faith in the midst of non-understanding. In our readings today, St. Joseph was asked to accept the Blessed Virgin Mary into his home. The truth is, the reality that he was faced with, the reality of his wife not having his child. He knew she was pregnant and he knew he wasn't the father. And yet, when the angel appeared to him, he accepted that the reality in front of him was not the only reality, that there was a spiritual reality. And that's what we're faced with today, the recognition that the physical reality of not being able to come together and celebrate the Mass doesn't mean that we are completely isolated, that we aren't together as the people of God in the body of Christ. There is another reality, the spiritual reality, and we need to make sure that we're there for each other, to pray for each other, that we are able to experience a spiritual communion. And so that is also what this message from the PPC has also been about, showing you how, even though we can't have Mass together, we can still be in prayer and communion together, spiritual communion. I'll be saying Mass every day at 8 o'clock, and I invite you as families, if you can, to do the daily readings at 8 o'clock. If you don't have a weekday missal, the internet links have been provided for you. Pray together at that time. Look at the intention for which we offer the Mass. Have the readings, and I will try every Wednesday and Friday to give you a little homily, but if it's possible, we'll try other days as well. On the Sunday, we're going to try and video the Mass that I'll be saying, which I will preach at as well. Or Deacon Mike will preach at. We may not be able to have him present. We may have to splice him in, depending on how the regulations pan out. But the truth is that we will have these homilies broadcast, but also the homilies preached for you. So feel free to log in, to feel a part of the church, to see the church that we love so much. I know that I am praying for you, and I ask you to pray for me, to pray for our community, to pray for those who are the most vulnerable in our community, those who are immunocompromised, those who are struggling with the isolation, but also those who are going to struggle with infection. We are already starting to see the signs of our own parishioners becoming infected with COVID-19. So we ask you to pray for them. We ask you to be safe, to be respectful, and to recognize that the sacrifices we are making today, the sacrifices we are making spiritually by not having Mass together, are also about us being able to grow in our recognition of who God is, because we recognize him by the absence of receiving him, but also the absence of being together as we come to celebrate the Eucharist. Pray for each other, be kind to each other, but most importantly, be safe. God bless, and if you need anything or there are emergencies, please don't hesitate to call me at the parish.